Hey folks, good afternoon. We are starting today with a slightly different format. What we're going to do, I've had a little request, is to show how to put a simple widget on the screen and then update it when we want. Now, this is a better alternative to binding, and I'll show you why during the course of this. So we're going to start with basically a blank project here, and if we press play you'll see that this is our basic, a basic third person template. So say we want a widget on the screen with our health. Okay, now I don't want a progress bar. We're not going to do a progress bar, we're just going to do a value, okay, just to get us started. So we're going to go into our blueprints, we're going to create a folder, and we're going to call it UI. Then in here we're going to create a widget under user interface, widget blueprint, and we shall call it, actually let's call it time. We'll not do a health bar, we'll do a time bar. Okay, so we open this, we can wrap this with another canvas panel. Then what we shall do is we shall say top right, and we shall 0 the position. Then our X will be 1, and that puts it up there. Okay, next, compile that just for a laugh, and then we shall go with a horizontal box, and in the horizontal box we're going to have text. She'll drag that in, click it, duplicate it. This one is going to be time. Well, we didn't want to do that, so we're going to say time passed, colon, space, go. And I should tell you what we'll do in this canvas panel is we're going to change the anchors, and we're going to set it to the top, and we're going to 0 that. Then the X is going to be 0.5. Okay, and the horizontal box, or the canvas, we will size to content, and the horizontal box will size to content. And we'll move that back, and then we shall move this on the Y down a bit. Okay, so from there we have our time pass in our block, and we will change the block text block name to txt time, and we shall change this to be a variable so that we can access it in our game. Okay, so now we have that, and this is going to be a 0. Okay, and this actual time passed is going to go to the right, and then what we're going to do is we shall go into our mannequin, for our, I'll tell you what we'll do is go into world settings and we shall check. Okay, I'm going to press play. We're going to find out what our player is. Top down character, and we shall edit top down character. Hi Jess, how are you? So we shall open this, we shall stop it, and apparently we have no script in here, but this is definitely our thing. So what we'll do is we go to event, begin play, and we shall create that event, and then we shall zoom in, and yeah, I'm fine. We're just going to do this bit of a tutorial for you. So we're going to compile that, and then in our controller, player controller, right, we're going to create a variable, and it's going to be time widget, okay, and it's going to be of the variable type the widget that we just created, which is widget time. Okay, so we've got this widget now, or at least a variable ready to be filled. So what we do is on begin play we create widget, and we create widget time. Okay, and then what we do is we drag this variable in and we say set time widget, and the widget that we just created, we set that as the variable. Then we add to viewport. So let's just go through that. We've created our widget. Here's our widget, time passed. Okay, it's in the center of the screen basically, up the top. We can place that wherever we want, but we're placing it up the top for now. Okay, then we've created a variable in our player controller that will store a reference to that widget. So we create the widget, then we store the reference to it in our variable down here, and then we add it to the viewport. Now, what effect does that have? Well, the effect it has is we now have our widget on the screen up here. Okay? But it's not doing anything. But that's okay, because in our controller now, what we can do is we can write a custom event, and we can say update time. Okay, now I'm just going to do this manually. There are functions within Unreal Engine where you can bring back the time since the game began or whatever. In fact, let's have a look to see what we've got, and we might use one. There's something in the you can do with time, that you can get the time since the game started. I can't remember it off the top of my head. If any of you guys know off the top of your head, get timer elapsed, get unpaused time. It could be here somewhere. Get accurate real time. No. Get game time in seconds. Let's use that and see where we go. Okay. So what we're actually going to do here is we're not going to use this. Yeah, we are. We're going to use that. Okay, but in our widget, we're going to go to the graph and we're basically going to delete everything here and we're going to do a custom event. Okay, and we're going to call it update widget. I've called it update widget so we don't get confused in the player controller with too many things called the same thing. But we're going to say update widget, right? And it's going to have an input. And it's going to be, let's call it new time. And it's going to probably be a float. Okay? So we bring in our actual time text button or text. So this is time text. So we're going to bring in time text. We're going to get it. And then we're going to say set text. And this sets the text in the actual widget. Okay? And then we're going to plug in new time into there. And that just basically converts it from a float to text so that we can display it. Okay? That's all we need to do in the widget. Now, in the top down, we're going to bring in our widget. We're going to get it, and then we're going to call the function, which is update widget. Okay? And you can see here that we've got our variable that we can pass in, and that's what's going to set it. Okay? So what we'll do here is we shall set timer by function name. Okay? And our function is called update time. So we cut and paste this in here to the function name because we want it to be exactly the same or it won't work. We're going to get it to run every 2 seconds and it's going to loop. Okay? And that's it. So now what we should see is that our time passed goes up every 2 seconds and it updates the widget. Okay? Now, let's have a look at this and why we do it this way. And we're going to make a slight change here. We're going to get this and we're going to change this to an integer. Okay, now that is just so that the seconds looks correct. We could format it, but let's keep it simple. We can plug that into there and it's going to convert. Then we can refresh it, and if we try press and play again, we now get 2, then 4, 6, 8, 10, etc. Okay? Now, let's go through this example. If we go back to our widget, okay, what we could do is set a variable here called new time. And we make that an integer, okay? And then, instead of this actually setting the text, okay, what we could do is set this to new time. Okay, now this is showing you the difference with binding, okay? So what we're going to do is put that there, we'll join that to there, and we'll leave it. We won't do anything with this. So you'll notice now, right, that this won't change. Okay? But what we're going to do is we're going to bind it. Okay, so if we go back to our designer, we come to here, and then this text binds to new time, and we save that, you can see that now this is changing. Okay? But the problem is that if you bind it, it automatically runs 60 times a second. Okay? Within the binding, it's running at the frames per second that your game is running at. So if it's running at 60, it's going to run this code, the bind, and go and get this bind and bind it 60 times per second. If your game's running at 120, then it's going to do the same thing, but 120 times. Now, what we can do to prove this is we can create a binding, okay? And then we can pull this in, and this is manually doing the same thing, okay? Then we can rename our binding, and we shall call it bind time. Okay, now that's going to do exactly the same thing. So what we'll do is we shall remove the binding, and we'll press play. Okay, so nothing happens. We've removed the binding. Now what I'm going to do to prove the point is, if we go back to our character, right, and we change this to 5 seconds, right, this isn't going to do anything for 5 seconds, and then it's only going to fire once. Okay, but watch what happens with this. If we add the breakpoint and we press play, well, first of all, we've got to go back to our designer, and then we've got to bind it to bind time. We press play, and immediately it's broken. Right? Now remember, this is the problem with binding. we only want this to happen every 5 seconds, right? But it's happened straight away. Okay, now let me prove that in another way, right? This is our function or custom event that updates the time, okay? Updates the time. We run it every 5 seconds. Now that means that it won't fire until 5 seconds have elapsed, okay? So we expect nothing to happen for 5 seconds. So I'm going to add the breakpoint here. I'm going to remove this breakpoint for now. Okay? Now watch what happens. Basically we can count to 5 before anything breaks. Nothing, nothing, now breaks. That's 5 seconds. And you'll notice that this is now fired. Okay? So if we disable that breakpoint and we stop it and we go back into our bind and we enable this breakpoint, it's broken straight away because it's already running this 60 times a second. Right? If we resume, it's just going to stay there because it's continually going back and getting this value, changing it to text, and then returning the value. Okay? So that is the problem with binding. So it's continually, we can click this all night and it will just keep binding. It will just keep stopping at a bind because it's trying to do it 60 times a second. Okay? So if we stop that and we basically delete our bind time, okay, go back to the designer, remove the binding, save that, we go back to our graph and basically take this out, add this back in, we can delete that variable, we can save that, and you will notice after 5 seconds, there we go, we've got a, it sets it up for us. Okay. Now we could change this to fire every, actually we should be in the character for this. We can change this to run every second, right? And it will just count up. But the point is, we're only running this once per second. Okay? And we are updating this widget only once. So, hopefully, anybody watching has learned something from that, of why you do not bind, or at least you avoid bind and actually update widgets on events. That is why you do it. Okay? So hopefully that was a nice little opening tutorial for you guys on how to update a widget, why not to bind, and how to just do it once or on an event. Now, under normal circumstances, you would do exactly the same thing on receiving damage or receiving health. Same thing. You wouldn't bind the health to the health value on your character, although you could. The good programming practice is to only update it when it actually needs updated. Okay? So I'm hoping you enjoyed that little tutorial, and we shall now carry back on and test our resupply ship shall load it up. So if you've got any questions about that, pop them in the comments and I'll try to get back to you. Okay, so we are on our trading main. And we'll have to wait till this loads up, but I'm sure it won't take long. Come on. You can do it. Now, from last night, I actually finished off the code for this. So, if we look in here, and we go to the event graph, and it's in main, I believe. I've still to test this, but here is where we kind of finished off last night. So basically, we're looping around all the amounts that have been moved. We're removing the product from the inventory. This is selling, okay? So we're selling something. We remove it from our inventory. We add it to the ship. And then we update the space credits. And we set all the values to 0 that we've actually transferred. And similarly for buying, we do the opposite, right? We remove the product from the ship, we add it to our inventory, we set the widgets amount to transfer to 0, we change the space credits, and then we refresh trade slots, okay? Now, I haven't tested refresh trade slots yet, which is here, which basically resets the whole thing, basically. Okay? And to be perfectly honest, I don't need to do most of this. I think what we'll do is we'll amend this slightly. Okay, we'll amend this quite a lot. Okay. As I said, I haven't tested this yet, so we'll have to wait and see what happens. But we don't really need to. We don't need to reset the controller. We don't need to reset the rocket, but we might need to do that. Okay. Now, if we have a look at this, fill grid, that's fine, that's fine. Okay, let's test that, shall we? And see how it's looking. So we should do that, continue, F5, we shall move all of these, and trade, and that didn't work. So this should say 0. And this isn't right. Well, that's not so good. We need to check this out. and that's in the main macro. Okay, tell you what. First thing we're going to test here is if this part actually works. So we'll put a break on those two. Okay. And we shall now sell product. We're going to sell 25. And we shall now cancel that. And if we bring it back up again, this copper sheet is 50. So it's adding it to our inventory instead of removing it. Okay. So we need a breakpoint in here. We're going to stop it. And it's failing at remove product from ship. Right, so that would appear that this is incorrect. Now, I do know why that is. It's because of this. And we should start off by selling. Okay. I'm probably just going to rewrite this part as another function and just do the things that I really need to do. So we're going to try this again. We're going to trade. And we're going to step into this. Now there should only be one product coming in here. It's copper sheet, which is correct, and the value is 25. Okay, so if we step over, then this value should be 0. Which it is. If we resume that, okay, and then cancel that, and then what we want to do is look at our controller. If we look at our controller, the products available, this copper sheet is 0. So if we press 5 again, there we go. It now brings up the correct value. If we sell all our widgets, trade, resume, there we go. Now let's try the buy. We can buy 20 copper ore, trade that, and now we've got 20 in there. We can cancel that and F5 it, and there's our copper ore. So that's working nicely. And were those errors there before? I'm not 100% sure. Well, what we can do is we can do that. We can sell resume. Okay. Right, so we're quite happy with that. But the thing we need to do is we do need to refresh we do need to do this, okay? Whatever this may be. Add product to ship. Okay. Now, okay. Okay. We need to do this actually for both. For both the ship and the inventory. Basically, if the array element does not exist, we need to create that element. Okay? So what it's doing here is it's finding the product. Well, that actually shouldn't be the case, actually. It is failing somewhere, and I'm not 100% sure why. Okay, so let's think about this. We're adding the product to the ship. The ship does have all products. So therefore, I'm not 100% sure why it's not finding the product on the ship, right? But in the meantime, what we're going to do is we're going to come back to here, and we are going to basically do that, and we're going to do that. Hello Draken, how are you today? This fine Saturday at some point, wherever you are. Right. So this refresh trade slots is going to have to do something. Okay? And it looks to me like it's going to have to do this part here. That's setting up the credits. That's setting the active widget. We don't need to do that, it's already set. So I'm thinking all we actually need to do is that. Now I'm going to move this up. We can swap these around when necessary. In the meantime, we shall move these to here and move them down, then join that up, and that should be it. Now once we've checked this, I'm going to check the error on the ship, moving the stuff to the ship, because that is a strange one. Right, so we're on sell. We're going to sell our 25% copper, and then we're going to trade. There we go. And then we're going to buy, and we're going to buy all the copper ore, trade. And that takes us back to sell. Why did it do that? That's a weird one. Right, we're on sale. Yeah, that was weird, wasn't it? So it's changed the mode. We're on sale. So if we click on buy again, and it looks like it didn't remove the credits, and then it changed us to sell for some reason. Don't know why, but there you go. So whatever's happening there, our credits available is basically staying the same. And our cost of trade is staying the same. Now it does reset when we click one of those buttons, but that's all a bit weird. Now it's going to be interesting. So we're setting our space credits, but we're not setting the actual number of space credits, right? So this add product to ship is an issue. Right, we'll fix this problem first. Right, so we'll go here, and this is credits available, and this is TXT credits. Okay, so basically we set the credits, and then we get TXT credits in here, get that, then we set text, and that goes right in there, and we can line these up a bit better. what are you saying to it today, Draken? And we shall basically duplicate that, and it will go up here as well. In the meantime, what I'll do is move that to there. This is all going to come down a bit for a bit of space. Right, we're going to move this across. We're going to move this in here. And then we're going to plug that in there. And that in there. That in there. And what we actually need to do here is to also get this value, not that one, the cost of trade, trading cost. Okay, so we can basically do that, get that, do that. Now we can clean this up because we're obviously actually duplicating the stuff here, but once I've got it up working, that's when I'll do the tidy up again. So that's set text again, and the text is going to be 0, so we'll move that across, move that across, and do that, then we shall duplicate that and bring it down here. And bring this across into here, drag this over to here, pop this in, pop that in, pop that in, save that. Now I don't understand why the widget switcher is getting activated. So we need to keep an eye on that one. Okay. So that's not doing anything. Right, that's on clicked button buy, which is the widget switcher itself. Too expensive. Fill grid. Fill grid does not do anything. Okay, we're going to rearrange these. So this one's on the top. So begin play is basically at the top. We should really start commenting these, but hey ho. Now we're getting a problem when we add product to ship. Okay, this part here. So we really want a breakpoint here to find out where the actual error is and what's causing it. So we're going to run it again. Then we're going to hit 5, and it happens on the cell, right? So if we do that, it's 50. And then we trade. Remember, we sold 50 copper sheet, okay? So we step into this. We've got 50 copper sheet 25. Right, so we've got copper sheet and that's correct. So if we step over and we step over there, it jumped straight out of here. Alright, okay, so it errored here. So we can stick our breakpoint here, and for some reason this rocket supply is failing. Okay? So the best idea here is to stop, and there's our error. Okay, so we need to check this. And here's our error, so we can dismiss these for now. We can hit 5 and we can simulate the error again. So we trade that. Okay. We can disable this breakpoint and we can resume and we can check. We have no rocket reference. Well, that's bizarre. Okay. Does this have a rocket reference? I don't even think it does. Yeah, it does. Are we setting it up? We're not even setting it up. Yeah, we don't have a rocket reference. So you'll see there. Now there's two ways we could deal with this. We have already got a parent widget which does have the rocket reference. So what we can do is, oh wait a minute, go back to trading line, right? And then if we go back to add product to ship, what we can actually do here and not need to do any weird stuff is we can get the parent widget and we know that's going to have the rocket BP, and then from the rocket BP we can plug in there, we can delete that. So basically we had lost or didn't have a reference to the rocket, so this was basically none, and that's why it was failing. So we can align these to the right. And we can dismiss that and press play. And now if we do the copper sheet thing, we should be getting 50, so this should say 177. Okay, and we can check we now have a reference. So we have our reference, we have our BP rocket, and we have our supply. And there we go, 177. Cost of trade is now 0. Everything's been reset. So if we sell all of our widgets, we should go up to 323. Trade. Resume. There we go. Beautiful. Okay, so the dog's getting a bit excited about someone outside. I'm going to turn the mic off for a second while I... Okay, my dog seems to have calmed down a bit. Now, you'll notice there we still have a problem, right? When we're buying, for some reason, or when we hit the trade button, it is doing weird things. So again, we've got add product to ship, issues, I'm not convinced about that one. Well, I'm convinced that we've got an issue, but we need to find out why it's switching the widget when we hit the trade button. Okay, so let's look at this. So when we hit the trade, button, so we're clearing this, then we're creating our widgets, a reference to them, right? Then we're saying refresh trade slots. And for some reason, some unknown reason, it is basically right. So what we're going to say is we're going to pull in the widget switcher, wherever it is, here. We're going to get it, and we're going to say set active index, right? And the active index is going to be this. So we need to go to int right, and this plugs in here. Then we shall do that. And pop that in there. Then, damn it, pull that down to there, plug that in, I do need to find out where that's switching though, because I never switch it unless they actually hit the button, and the button hasn't been hit, so I don't understand why it's actually switching the widget at that point. Okay, so let's try this again, shall we? Right, now it should stay on cell. Resume that. Right, so that did what we wanted. Let's try it on buy. Trade that. And that worked. Or, no it didn't. Okay, I'm getting confused here. I am definitely getting confused. Okay. And it's still giving us errors on this add product to ship. I don't understand why. It's not even breaking here. Or maybe it was. Maybe it was breaking there, but I just didn't notice it. Okay guys, I'm gonna go grab a cigarette and a drink. I think I've got Dr. Pepper here, so I'm gonna grab a quick drink, clear my mind, and we'll come back and sort this out. Hang around, won't be long, couple of minutes, and I'll be back. See you then. Right guys, we're back. Now let's sort this issue out. Now, I think that's another issue that we'll deal with in a minute. But we have the problem of a widget switcher basically switching for no real reason other than it fancies doing it, or there's something somewhere that's switching that widget, and I'm not 100% sure what that is, to be honest. So let's have a look. We are on our trading line. Okay, now I want anything in here. I want to find out if anything actually refers to the widget switcher, and I don't think it should. This is just updating amounts to transfer, right? Then it's doing some, wait, we've got this, but that doesn't change anything. That just checks a value. Nope, there is no code that changes the widget switcher. Okay? Because the rest are all just functions that return stuff. And here returns cost, returns product, nothing there that's going to do anything. Now, what I'll do here is I'll find the references and we'll see what these do. That sets trade cost. This one gets the supply. So there's nothing in the line that deals with the widget switcher. Now, for some reason, let's see what we've got here. We've got on the event construct, that's fine. Got fill grid. Does this do anything? Nope. We've got flash too expensive. And we've got button click. Right, now this does change the widget switcher, but only because you press the buy. Okay? So what we'll do is we'll put a breakpoint here and a breakpoint here. So that says selling, that says buying, that says selling, that says buying, right? That's all good. Ah, hang on. Now, should we do this? We should actually get the trading mode here, and we should duplicate this and that should go to int. Okay. We shall delete that, and then we shall duplicate this and this is going to go in here, and this should go in here. Now the interesting thing is we're filling the grid and we're not changing the widget switcher, so that's exactly what we want, right? So we're on sell, we do that, we trade, we resume, we're still on sell, we click on buy, okay, and we should set this to buying, which is correct. Then when we click on buy 3 iron ore and we do that, and for some reason it's changing, it's reloading these widgets. Right, and it's screwing that up. So it's definitely on the trade. Well, let's try one more thing, right? Let's do one more thing. We'll disable that. We shall disable that. We shall run it, and we're testing now that basically that's fine. We go to sell, so that's working fine. Okay. We'll dismiss that for now, because that error there might be connected to the trade when we trade. So when we complete trade, there's something in here that is changing our widget. Right? Now the only thing it can be is this. Right? The only thing it can be is this thing here. Damn it. That's the wrong one. Refresh trade slots is the only thing that it can possibly be. So if we sell and trade, resume that, that's fine. We've got 0. Okay, if we buy, if we sell, that one's disappeared. If we buy a few of these and we trade, it's fine. If we buy all of them, it's fine. Yeah, that's fine. So basically, if I sell all these and trade, resume, then we buy, then we sell, yeah, it's disappeared because of 0. I'm going to call that good. I'm going to say that's good. Right, I think the second error here was because of the refresh slots. It was doing something weird. I think the way that I'm still not happy with that though. Trading line, it's this add product to ship, and it's the sell and the remove product from ship. Something weird going on there. Well, I'm not too sure about that. We're going to ignore it for the moment because it looks like it's working. I don't know why it's coming up with okay, I know why. We need to duplicate this. Right, spotted the error. There we go. Error sorted. So we'll align this left. I need to stick to a plan on this one, right? Because I seem to align some of them left, some of them right. I need to get a consistent layout of how I do this. Right? So there's that. Okay. So we shall move this down a tad to there. That'll be fine. That'll be fine. We'll save that. Right. So that should be our errors resolved. And I think we're going to continue on the widget I think we're going to continue on the widget thing, right? So this is our inventory and warehouse, or sorry, our inventory and crafting buttons. Okay. And I think we shall either work on that or we have our research tree. What has happened to our research tree? Apparently our research tree has disappeared. I think we're going to have a look at that. So this is our research tree, and this is our research items. So we're going to have a look at here. We've got event construct and build the grid. Then we have load column data. We're going to add a breakpoint here. And then we're going to add a breakpoint here. So we're going to click on our research tree. Hey Eunice, how you doing? So the question is, do we have rows? Yes, we do. Now, I was hoping that this would never happen. Right? So, I'm guessing... Right, so that's it, working out the padding and stuff. Okay. So now, if we resume that, we have the controller, we have the instance. Now, do we have anything in here? My first language is French. Are you mental? No, I was rubbish at French at school. Okay, so we need to find out if this actually runs. So if we step over this, yeah, nothing. We have basically nothing in here. So I don't want to jump to any conclusions here. French? No, absolutely not. Under no circumstances. Okay, I think this problem all came about when I had a problem a week or so ago when enums got basically obliterated. And it basically screwed everything. Right? Now, the problem here is that I have a game instance and it probably has nothing in it as far as the research items go. Yeah, I didn't think it would. So in the first instance, what we need to do is to load, we need to load up the research items from the game save. So our game save has struct research items in it, which will be obviously empty at this point. And this, the instance is going to have to load these up from the either the save game, or if it's a new game, it's going to have to load them up from the new game with everything set to 0% complete. Okay? So this is a bit of a problem because it was working and now it's not because I've broken it, which is a bit of a bummer really. Okay, let's go back to our research tree. Now it's picking out the values from here when actually it should be pulling them from a data table. What are you having a problem with, Eunice? Let me know what you're having a problem with. So I'm guessing that this originally came from a data table. I can only assume that, right? Because the first thing we're doing is we're going to come in and build the grid, right? If we build the grid, we're getting the padding from the data table that tells us what the padding is for each of the different columns and slots, or columns and rows. Then we're not doing anything to get anything from a data table, right? Because this is the load row column data and this is load row column data, right? So, yeah, Eunice, can you tell me what the issue is with your character event graph? So this, in actual fact, should be coming from a data table, or if it's nothing, we should be setting this up with the data from the data table. Okay? Or we should be setting the game save up, which wouldn't make much sense. So I'll tell you what we're going to do is we're going to load the data via data table. How's about that? Right, because our values are still in here. Right? Values are still here. And it's research items, right? So we can do that. So let's go back to here, and let's go back to here, and we're going to get data table row names, okay, and that's going to be research items. Yeah, but what's the issue, Eunice? What's the issue? And then we're going to go from here, we're going to do a for each loop. Right? We don't want to look at standard macros, thank you very much. I don't know why I changed this. I really don't know why I changed it. Probably because it was done, but I was working on loading and saving the game, and then I realised that the research items would have to be in the save game file. And I've swapped that out for some reason. Oh, who knows why. Just basically because I'm stupid, but anyway, get data. And if we scroll down to the bottom, get data table row name. that. So we do that. Right. And then let's see what this actually does here, because column data, row data, so it's not any of them. Did I have, I'm guessing that this went here. I very much doubt it, mate. But you can join my Discord, it's in the description, and you can post a picture or something. So that's a for each loop. This should be research items. And that will go in there. And then that will go in there. And we shall save that and test it. Right? So press that, then research, and resume. Now, that kind of works, except everything seems to be on the same row and column and stuff. Right, we don't want to do that, disable that. Right. Wait a minute. Stop that for now. That goes into break research items. Okay. So we shall do something slightly different here. Okay. And okay. And we shall copy that, duplicate that, and then we shall add we shall do that, and we shall add that to the row, and then we shall do that, and now in theory that goes in there. Let's try that. You'll find the link to description to the Discord in the description of the video, the YouTube video. Alright, resume that, resume that. There we go! Hey, we're back in business. Back in business. We have a research tree. Woo! Okay. Right, and now I've completely forgot what the heck I was doing in the first place, which is awesome, obviously. As I said, I think I was going to swap this over to the game instance, and then I got derailed with a problem and I completely forgot where I was, and it's totally screwed what I was doing. Right? Okay, let me make a new thing. Okay, there you go. Hopefully that'll get you in. Right, so I wasn't really ready for this problem, so I'm kind of on a completely different track here. Right? Because this code is going to have to move. This code is going to have to move to a number 1. Okay, so let's do it. Let's do it. You've thrown down the gauntlet, Unreal Engine, so we're going to rise to the occasion here. Right? I'm not taking any of your nonsense today. So, when we begin play, right, if the game isn't saved, we create the save game object, and then we save it to the slot. Well, we're not happy with that at all. No, we are not. Because we are going to save this data. So we are going to grab the data from this data table and stuff it right into the save game and the instance. So, what do you think of that? So in our research tree, right, we're going to grab this, we're going to copy it, right, then we're going to go to our FE controller and we're going to create a new function, right, and the function is going to be called load save research tree. Okay, and in load save research tree, we're going to move it along a bit, obviously. We're going to do that. Right? Now that's going to set it to the game instance. So that's not, is it going to be right? Well, kinda. We do want to set the instance up by default out of the database, right? So when you first start the game, that's fine. But what we have to do is, when this is complete, we need to do save game, right? So where's our save game instance? Game instance. Where's our save game? Oh, it's in here. Right, okay. So here it's here, save data, get, then research, set research, right, and okay, I'll check it out, mate. So we basically get that again. Right? And we basically ram it right into the saved file. And that will not work. So we can delete that, and we can delete that, and we can actually just get our game instance and plug it in. Right, and we can basically copy paste that in, and we can plug that straight into there. We already have a game instance reference there, so that's fine. So we just call this load save research tree before we save the game to slot. Okay. So basically we move this across and we say load save research tree. And that goes in there. Then we can pop a couple of rewrite nodes and just bring this down so it's a bit tidier. Bring that down another one and bring that down to there. That's fine. And then if we do have a save game, right, we're going to rename this because this actually might get a bit confusing by what it's called. Right, so we'll call it initial right, what we'll call it initial tree save. Okay, because we do want to load, so if we've got it called load save, that kind of doesn't really explain what it's doing. So we really need to give it a name where, so if we load the game to slot, this isn't going to work, right? So what we need to do now is go back to our research tree, and then we can plug that directly into there. Right? And then we need to create a new game so it does the initial save. So we click on new game and we'll call it research. Okay, that. And now when we hit this button, we're hoping that this will then be something. So we bring that, and we have controller, we have an instance, and it says variable not in scope. We'll step over, and it does work. Resume, and there we go. We have a research tree. Okay. But I'm going to show you something, because if we now continue, our research tree will actually have disappeared. There you go, nothing. And that is because we have to load it back in. Okay? So once we get the saved data, we've got our saved data, okay? Now what we need to do is we need to create another function and call it load research tree from saved game. Okay? And what we do is we get our saved data, then we get our research, okay, and then we get our struct research. No we don't. What we do is we get our game instance, and then we get our research for there, and then we basically bang these in here. Okay? And that's going to save our research tree and load it back in again when we need it. Okay? So now, when we press play and continue, our research tree is empty. Excellent. Oh yeah, that's because I didn't even call it in the... Oh god. Right, so we get this, and what we do is we call this function. Okay. And resume that, and there we go. So that is our research tree up and running again, and the thing is, with it, when you actually complete it, we just need to update the save game file and the instance. Okay? Well, we just need to update the instance of the tree. And then we should be good to go. So let's have a look at, now that we've sorted that out, what we should really do is have a look at our other. So we've done our trading, and it's this inventory thing. Now I want you guys' idea on this. This is going to be show you basically your inventory. Okay? And then these buttons are going to allow you to craft these items. Okay? So I'll tell you what we'll do is, since we've nearly ran our 2 hours, what we shall do is we're going to have a look at our inventory main. Okay, and in the crafting side, build inventory grid, build crafting grid. Okay, so we're getting the data, creating the widget, and it's the crafting item, right? So in the short term, what we'll do is we shall get the crafting item, and we've got a button there. And have we got, well, we've got the product. I'll be finishing about 10 or so. Right, I'm wanting a tooltip. I want a tooltip. Do you get a tooltip on a border? Apparently not. Aye, there you do. Right, so this border is our, we'll call it BRD if we select it. So we'll call it BRD outside tooltip. And turn that into a variable. We shall save that. So that when we come in here, we're going to set a tooltip on this, right? On our craft item widget. So if we look at our crafting item widget and we look at the code for that, let's see what it does. It doesn't do anything interesting. Not really. Not really. We have got the E item, which means that we can go and get its constituent parts, okay? So we can pull that in, get item, right? Let's see what that does. That's just doing the hovered, unhovered, okay? So in the short term, what we'll do is we're going to move these. Move that a bit, right? And then we're get data table row. Actually, it's going to be get data table row, I believe. And then that's going to be to string. Then that's going to go in there. We will check this in a second. And this is going to be in products, I believe. Then off of here, we're going to have inputs and outputs. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to come off here and say for each okay, we're going to have to check the product type, product name. Okay. And what we'll do in the short term is we'll actually see if this works. So if we run this, right, I've got window locked, so we'll get that out of the way. Press play, inventory. Is it going to bring anything back? Apparently not. So I need to check the setup for that. But I think what we'll do is call that for this afternoon. I shall be back in 4 hours. Eunice, I'm going to have a look at your stuff. Anybody that's interested in supporting the channel or whatever, check the description or subscribe, and thanks for joining. I shall see you all in 4 hours. Bye for now.